Well, here we are back again, and in my hand I have stories from the Mohawk Valley. Bob Cudmore has been I don't want to say a fixture, that sounds terrible.
Well, I am kind of a fixture.
You are a fixture.
I think I was here before the canal.
I don't know about
Sure.
that, but I love his stories that he tells. He has some wonderful fictional stories that you do, and you have a blog on the Gazette website. He does a radio show. You do that every morning?
I do, 4 hours up in Amsterdam.
Wow. And what do you talk about?
Well, it's a local news show,
Yeah.
like 104.7 FM, and we cover the local news, plus I interview people, and we'll have you on, talk about Schenectady today.
Anytime, right.
There you go.
Bob has been on the radio for years, and I remember listening to him for many years, and always loved your voice is just so soothing and nice. And right now he's also a historian and doing a lot of books. And this is not your newest book, but
No, this book is out now, Stories from the Mohawk Valley.
And where can people get this?
Everywhere.
Okay.
We've sold over 1,200 copies. You can get it at the Open Door up in Amsterdam at the Old Peddler's Wagon or the Book Hound. Amazon. It's also you have an ebook available.
Okay, and I wanted to point out there's a lot of photos in here.
And the new book will probably have more photos, or at least as many. I'm on the photo search right now.
Okay.
I'm not really sort of a visual person, but the photos really
You're
make
a radio
the book.
person.
Yeah, but the photos make the book.
Yeah.
You know.
And this one is out, and what would someone, it says, stories from the Mohawk Valley. Are these fictional stories?
No,
these are real stories.
These
right?
are real stories based on my history column for the Daily Gazette. I write a weekly column called Focus on History, and basically the books are collections of the columns. Larry Hart used to do the same sort of thing, and Barney Fowler back at the Times Union days.
Fowler. Oh my gosh!
So now I'm doing another one. I do it with this publisher in Charleston, South Carolina, which seems to be the hotbed of local history publishing.
Oh, really?
Both major local history publishers are there. I'm with an outfit called History Press, and another one of their series is called The Hidden History of whatever. So that's going to be the title of the next book,
The Hidden
History of the Mohawk Valley.
And how much hidden history is there?
Oh, there's lots.
Tell us the story.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I brought along a picture. I don't know if
Okay,
I'm
good. Let's look at the photo.
Picture. Yeah, well, this is one of my favorites. This is a picture taken by John Collier, who was a photographer who became an anthropologist. And he came to Amsterdam on assignment in 1941, working for the federal government. It was either both for the Farm Bureau and for defense. He comes to Amsterdam just before the war drags America in. He comes to Amsterdam in October of 1941, takes this really incredible series of pictures. The one that I like that we were shown on the screen a while ago.
Looks like a theater, right?
Yeah, it's a theater called the Strand, which became the Mohawk, but it's like it just sort of yells film noir. You see
doesn't it?
These women in high heels walking by. Yeah. It's raining. There's an Andy Rooney movie playing, and you realize that this is just before all these people in Amsterdam are going to have their lives completely changed by World War II. And he took other great pictures of the White Tower restaurant, which was downtown, also some young people, and you wonder whatever happened to those young people. So there are tons of John Collier pictures. What's good for an author such as myself, they're all public domain because he did the work for the federal government.
So they're public,
He did later pictures that are not for the federal government, but so that's going to be one of the stories in the new book.
I know that when I look at photos like that, I don't know about you, well, I'm sure you're the same, I kind of really look at those photos. I'm looking at what they wear, and I'm looking at the streets, and I'm looking at the vehicles, and I'm looking at the buildings. There's just so much to see in these photos.
And the great advantage I have writing for the Gazette is I'll run something in the Gazette, and then before I would actually put the story in book form, people will call or write me or email with corrections or additions. For example, that picture, the church that's in the background is St. Mary's Church, which is still there, but it had these little towers around its big steeple, which are gone.
And somebody told you
somebody
about it.
I didn't think of that at first.
Well, you wouldn't maybe have even noticed it.
So,
now, are you from Amsterdam? Is that why you?
I'm a native of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And the reason I got into writing about the area is for WMHT, I did a documentary with Steve Dunn about Amsterdam history called Carpet City.
They did a number of those.
Yeah. So then I started writing the column for the Gazette. I've been doing it ever since. But all the stories aren't about Amsterdam. One of my favorites will be in the new book is from a plane crash, 1928, where a man named Captain Pauly, who was originally from Gloversville, died. He was a passenger. There were 3 of them in the plane. It's just an incredible story on several levels. Number one, airplane travel was not much developed.
Not in 1920.
And these guys are like on the cutting edge of it. And they took off from Albany, bound for Buffalo in a brand new spanking plane, but it was too foggy, and they crashed in the town of Root, which is in rural Montgomery County. And also it intersects with the importance of local radio, or radio then, because they found the plane crash because they put it on WGY in the evening. And then all people started calling. Oh yeah, I think we heard it there, we heard it here, we heard it there. The other, and I tried to do it quickly, the other story that happened with this plane crash, I mean, they all died, but people just descended on the wreck in droves and practically stripped it bare, so it was hard.
There was no crime scene, was there?
Right.
No tape going up.
Yeah, so.
No black box.
No black box.
Yeah, at that time. And when you're looking at 1926, I mean, that was really in the infancy of travel.
When this man, Pauly, appeared to be in line to become the head of the Albany airport. It was actually 28th that the crash occurred. And he had already started a business. The first commercial business out of, air business out of Albany, in connection with one of your other guests, he delivered racing forms up to Saratoga from Albany as soon as they were printed.
Yeah. When is your book going to be released?
In the middle of October.
Okay, and can they get that at the same places?
You betcha. We'll be starting the big publicity campaign then.
Yeah. It's, history, we kind of look at history maybe looking at Vietnam and this, that, and the other. We kind of forget about our local history and the stories behind it.
How I describe what I do is kitchen table history.
Oh, I love that.
Because I go to people, like with Captain Pauly, I went to his great niece's house, and we sit around the table and we look at the pictures of Captain Pauly, and
you get a little background on it, a little something to make it more, I don't want to say colorful, but that's really, history is very dry if you're just mentioning dates, cities, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's making it alive, which I think what you do.
Yeah, I tend to focus on stuff that's not that long ago, maybe the past 100 years, and things that, people are still interested in, people still remember, or they remember being told about it.
And we need to keep those things alive. If we don't get them down on paper, they'll be lost. And I know many times, I mean, even our own family, I'll go, oh, I wish we had talked about that, and I've gotten that written down, because I can't remember exactly what my mother said. But we talked about audio, getting it on audio. Do you use audio?
Not a great deal. I mean, I could, and I've been talking to people now for 12 years, and I know the number of the people I've talked with about this, that, or the other thing, they've passed on, so at least I have their memories. But of course, I've also missed a lot of people. Every day it's like it could be a missed opportunity. Somebody will say, well, you should talk to my uncle, and maybe I'll put it off, and then I'll read that the man has passed away already.
Well, it's interesting. My uncle he recently passed away, 101 years old, but we taped him about 2 weeks before he died. He was very cogent. And the stories he tells about Schenectady, when he was growing up here, he came from Italy. These are the stories that we need to kind of get them saved, so that we can pass them on to a person like you who wants to write a story and say, oh, by the way, I have this. So if you have some really neat stuff about the Mohawk Valley, give him a call. You'll talk to him, and he'd love photographs or anything else that goes with it. Bob, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And keep up the good work. You're like the Energizer Bunny.
All right.
Just keep on trucking.
We'll
right?
keep going.
Good.